Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as ordered. Two fathers in your building, Mr. Logical in your ear.
What's going on?
We here tonight.
Shot into the fourth section of the stadium. Watching the game live.
Tonight is play-in night. Atlanta and Miami on right now. The world-famous LA Lakers to come against the team fighting against themselves. So tonight, we're going to talk about the XFL. What are your thoughts? Do you like it? Do they have a future? I say no. Then we're going to get into the NBA playoff preview. We don't even know the match yet, but we're going to talk about it anyway outside of the top 4-5 seed and everything. The Ravens, they went crazy for the brick. I don't even know if the price went up. The Ravens just spent it. They was on that Scarface yayo bringing Odell Beckham in for that amount of money. Then is the number 3 pick lucky? Word on the street is Arizona might be getting some call about some trades. Should they do it? Who are these teams? What do they want? And you know what I want, y'all? I want to get something off my chest. So, join us. Like us, review, subscribe. It's free. Holla, Raph.
Yeah.
XFL. Yay or nay?
Well, I went down to Virginia this weekend. My pops turned 66 on Sunday, so we kicked it and we hung out.
Happy birthday, Pops.
So we're just hanging out, you know. He loves sports. We talk sports. I've had many debates with him. I had one with him Easter night about 90s NBA versus today and, you know, everything else. We do this a lot. But we sat down, we watched the XFL, and it was the St. Louis versus Vegas game.
The Battle Hawks.
I mean, so it was like it wasn't a bad game. It wasn't the players looked the part. I liked the uniforms. I liked the field that they were playing on. The audience was about, I believe it was somewhere it was in the mid-30s, mid to like 36, 37,000 fans, somewhere in that range. They had it up on the screen. So in this, 70,000, 60,000 seat arena, all blue seats, blue jerseys. It looked pretty packed. I mean, it looked like a functioning game. You have Rod Woodson as a coach. The coach is being mic'd up. Dean Blandino, the former referee, like the head of officiating, he used to do a lot of like other Fox stuff like that. He would do the in-game things, kind of like the Mike Pereira role, where he was coming in, making adjustments and running the clock and checking the like the challenges and things like that, and running the replays. So I liked that. I thought it was smooth. I liked the way the plays came in. I liked the extra point. I'm not so sure about the kickoff. I'm trying to figure out what is it, who has the advantage, or like what the philosophy is behind the, like, is it a matter of you make a couple of good blocks and this guy can get through? So that part was a little quirky, but I like going for 1, 2, or 3 because I believe Vegas scored a touchdown to go up 9 and had to go for it to try to go up 10, and it was incomplete. So then when St. Louis got the ball back, they marched down late fourth quarter, scored a touchdown, and then they went for 3 and got it. So it was like, then they went to overtime. So I thought it was pretty exciting. I don't know how sustainable it is because we're so inundated with the NFL. I don't think it's been a topic of any one of our episodes that has been NFL related. I think we try to spread it out, but the NFL just constantly has something going on, even in February, post Super Bowl through March. We got the draft coming up. So I think the NFL just kind of encapsulates our entire sports world for an entire year. I think the XFL is a nice deal. They might have to do a little bit more partnership with the NFL, maybe, to kind of get them to bolster it the way the WNBA is kind of connected to the NBA. And then right about now, we're going to start getting a lot of advertisements for the WNBA starting. I think if the XFL had that element, I think they'd be a little bit more popular. But as far as like the look of it, I like the look of it.
So, like, I'm in the middle on this, for the most part. I don't think it's sustainable, going forward. Like 10 years from now, I don't think the XFL is going to exist, or at the very least, it won't exist as we see it today. So, but what I do like about the league is Bob Stoops, Rod Woodson, Hines Ward, Wade Phillips, Terrell Buckley, Jim Haslett, Jerry Glanville on the commentary. These are names that we know, and these are credible names. So it's not just dudes that we saw in the NFL or that might have played a position and we know them because they played for our favorite team. They have some good faces going on, and it builds a certain credibility that this isn't necessarily a minor league, even though it's a minor league. But
Yeah.
for me, I struggle with, like, going back to what you just said. I struggle with the window. Like, when would it be feasible for the XFL to be its most to maximize itself? Because you can't run it consecutively against the NFL, and then you also have college football going on at
Yeah.
that same time. Even right now,
That'd be
we're
financial
we're gearing
suicide.
up. We're gearing up for the NBA playoffs right now, and the draft is coming up, and NFL free agency happened in the middle of their season. So, I don't know how many people were actually watching the XFL. I know it's down here locally in San Antonio. Like, attendance is down 30% from where it was in the last iteration in 2020. So, but St. Louis, man, Malcolm X style, that brother, they took that NFL team away from them. And this season, they have the 3 highest attendance totals in the league. So, St. Louis lost their team. They still love football. Another thing I like about the XFL is the games on average are about a half hour shorter than the NFL. So, unlike the Canadian League, they're still playing the same amount of downs as far as, the rules and everything like that. But they're getting out of there a half hour earlier, which I don't have a problem with the length of NFL games. But with everything that's going on, trying to shorten college football games, that might be appealing to a football fan to have a quicker football game. But with
It's
that being
ironic
said,
that they want to shorten these games as much as they have everything on TV all the time. I'd want the game to be 4 hours long. As
well,
much
I
as they
mean,
talk about the NBA, NFL, and all these other. Ooh, Atlanta's doing numbers. Yes, I mean I feel you. I feel you on the. But like I said, sustainability is probably going to be key, and that's going to come from whatever relationship you garner with the other sports that are going on this time, as far as like the channels. So as long as if they hitch their wagons somewhat to the NFL, you have a lot of former NFL names. Like you said, Jerry Glanville, commentary, Hines Ward, Rod Woodson, who was the coach of Vegas. You have the names, and like I said, it looks credible. The passing game isn't really there just yet. I'm not sure like if it's a matter of time they had to practice,
well,
but
you got dudes like AJ
defensively it looks
McCarron
good.
throwing the ball. It can only be so good.
Listen, AJ cried after his game a few weeks ago. So, I mean, the passion is still there. Like I said, we have Philip Lindsay, a former Broncos running back. He scored a touchdown in the game on Saturday. So, like we were talking on our pre meeting that it might not be sustainable because the players that are on the field aren't. It's not a minor league system. It's not a pipeline system to the NFL. It's the pipeline out of the NFL. It's like you have enough youth left to play football. You just don't have it to play in the NFL, so you go there. But it's very similar to Ice Cube's Big Three. People they really probably think that was sustainable, but they made it to where, okay, like listen, how can these old dudes play? Cool, we're gonna play half court. We're gonna play to this number. We're gonna play in these kind of arenas. We're gonna pack people as close as we can. So it's all about how do you sell it. It might be a situation where you might have to just make it $5 tickets all the way around, give them out at schools, like similar to what I was saying about baseball. Like you might have to just manufacture your aesthetic by just bringing people down lower to the lower bowl and keep the camera there, like a high school game, like a packed high school
Well,
game. looks crazy, even though it's like probably a few thousand people there. But because the bleachers are only this big, it looks like it's nuts because it's packed high school game, but it's packed. You know what I'm
But
saying?
see,
So
but
like,
now I think we're on the brink. I think we're on the brink of finding out the answer to some of these questions because there's about 2 weeks left in the regular season before the playoffs get started. So the playoffs are going to run into the draft. We're going to be into the heat of the NBA playoffs, getting into like the second round on our way to the conference finals and all that kind of stuff. So that's where, like, for me, this is kind of where we find out how popular football is, or is it the NFL? So one of the things that I don't necessarily like about the league is the cities involved, because you got DC, you got Seattle, you got Houston, teams that have NFL strangleholds, and you even have Arlington, where like near where the Cowboys play. So
yeah,
from that standpoint, I understand that you need markets to build, I guess, the TV brand around the league, but nobody's gonna represent the DC Defenders, when you
yeah,
got Washington right there, New York's right there, Philly's right there, like there's too much NFL clientele right there. Arlington ain't gonna blow up in cowboy country.
yeah. But you think about like if you just think about the infrastructure that's already in place, you have, especially if you think about Texas, there's probably multiple high schools and prep schools that have turf fields that you can rent out and practice on because it's such a big football centric area. You have a lot of local equipment, uh, maybe even the medical teams, the medical staff, the connections with hospitals because they're so used to having football there. I think you just have like this infrastructure that you're just kind of piggybacking off of just because it already exists. You probably wouldn't try to start an XFL team and say like for like in the middle of Virginia, like Richmond, because it's not a big football market and they probably won't have the just extra fields. Like for instance, if you were trying to start a lacrosse league here in where I live in Jersey, there's so many turf fields. The high schools have them, the public parks have them, the city parks have them. So if you were saying, "Hey, I'm trying to start a lacrosse league," you could do it here because if you have to play a game, there's multiple schools that have their turf fields painted for lacrosse. Whereas if you have to paint a grass football field, that's a lot of time. It has to look
Mm-hmm.
good. If it doesn't, it won't look good on TV. The turf field, a high school turf field that my troop played on, looks just as good as any other turf field you'll see around. So I think having access to those kind of things makes it easier. Then you have the fans. Certain environments, obviously St. Louis is making a case to move the Jacksonville Jaguars there. If they're selling out XFL or they're selling 38,000 tickets at XFL games, it's like, hey man, y'all got enough teams down there in Florida. If y'all want to move one to the Midwest,
And of course, there's
get
San
with it.
Antonio.
You know, San Antonio had they had the San Antonio Saints for that year post Katrina.
Yeah, and
But they were doing walkthroughs at hotels.
and we got the championship game down here on May 13th. I'm planning on being in attendance, and I'm not going to do the NBA thing. I don't care who's playing. I'm going to be there, but when I look at it, another thing that I do like the 4th and 15 option. And what I was reading a couple of months ago, someone actually brought that to the NFL competition committee.
I don't like that part of it though.
I like it. I like it. You know what I mean? Because onside kicks are exciting, but they probably only work about 3% of the time. So so the 4th and 15 probably gives you about the same odds, but it has your skill players involved, versus special teams. Like you remember the playoff game Green Bay against Seattle. All Green Bay had to do was fall on the ball.
And
And,
look how
and
exciting that was.
it was.
That dude
It was
got
very
cut.
exciting.
That dude, he did a
Yeah, he
bunch of
did.
interviews all over the place, and they cut him anyway. But
So I
I think, like I
wonder.
said, I
I
think some
wonder.
of those leagues should keep their rules though. But I hear you.
Yeah, and I just think that if you're going to go up against the NFL, I mean, not directly, but if you're trying to present yourself as we're the other professional league, you have to differentiate yourself in some ways. And that's what I like about the CFL. I brought up the CFL. That's what I like about the CFL. Like it might not be for everybody, but they have a lot of different rules. The field is different. It's just something that stands out. Whereas like arena football was too cartoonish, and the field was like I think half the size of an NFL field, whereas the Canadian
Strange.
field's
It was 50
bigger.
yards.
Yeah, the CFL field is bigger. You have an extra player on offense and defense. The end zones are deeper. All that good stuff. So and in Baltimore, we actually had a CFL team when I was a teenager, and they won the Grey Cup and all that. So maybe that's part of why I like the CFL. Is that I have those memories as well. But the CFL is exciting. It's fun. Watch the XFL. I watch a lower quality version of what I see on Sundays. So like we were talking about the G League, for example. Like the G League has these high school kids playing like the overtime elite. So it's a guy that might be a draft prospect like your Scoot Henderson's, who is projected to go number 2 in the draft. If you find the G League or if you keep up with the G League, you can watch him still grow with him the same way that you would if he was going to college, or at the very least, you didn't learn on draft night that he was only shooting 27.5% from 3-point range. Whereas in the XFL, a lot of these guys are NFL castoffs. So it's already starting out from a lesser than position, because like AJ McCarron, for example, I brought him up, didn't hack it in the NFL, and now he's here. And I'm supposed to buy that this guy that I saw fail in the major league is going to somehow become a star in this league and make me care about it. Like how many XFL guys are going to end up on opening day NFL rosters? There might be some people that get calls, tryouts, training camp, but in a G League, there's always that possibility of two-way contracts, somebody getting called up, 10-day contracts. You can see that, but with these XFL guys, even though they have Martavius Bryant, Geronimo Allison, and Josh Gordon, how many of those guys, even though Josh Gordon is still talented, how many of those guys are going to come back on Sunday?
Man, that he had such an opportunity. He had so many opportunities. It just seems like he just couldn't get right. Couldn't get that curl to come around. That
you would think he had a daddy in the league.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you on the whole pipeline aspect of it, but I think as far as the entertainment piece, I thought it was very entertaining, aesthetically pleasing. I said these guys look like NFL players. Some of the run blocking and run defense every once in a while seemed to be a little, as the holes were rather big, but they were hitting. I saw a couple of interceptions. I saw guys like making plays at the goal line. I enjoy it. I don't think it has a very long shelf life simply because it is right up against the height of sports right now. We have the beginning of baseball, hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs, all the off season stuff with the NFL, which seems like it's probably going to be like this every single year with the off seasons. So I think what it allows them to do is put on 1 o'clock Saturday games, 4 o'clock Saturday games, because I'm not sure how the NBA playoff schedule is going to go, but I imagine they're going to be able to get those blocks of times when people are amped for sports all day. So you got your Buffalo Wild Wings, your local bars, your local sports bars, your Dave and Buster's, places like that. I think people are going to just be like, you know what? I'll sit down and have another beer and watch this game, or we'll get here a little early and catch the XFL game while it's on. You'll show up like, oh, the NBA's not on. I'll sit down and watch this football because we like football. I mean, we just like having football on. And like I think if the players look the part, the jerseys look the part, they don't look crazy. It's not like a bunch of like crazy helmets with like all kinds of unnecessary paint on it. I think people look at it and it looks like if you didn't know what the NFL was and you watched the St. Louis Vegas game, you were from a foreign country, you came over from Tunisia and you were just sitting at the airport at JFK and the game was on, you wouldn't know the difference between that and NFL game because it looks that appealing.
Yeah, I was a big NFL Europe fan. And, before that, the World
I
League
went
of
to those
Football,
games.
shout out Barcelona Dragons, New York, New Jersey Knights. I
First time
was
I went to
watching it.
Amsterdam for the NFL Europe World Bowl. I
Yeah,
had a ball.
the Rhine Fire,
Yeah.
I was a big fan of all that just because of the
Coolio performed
concept
at
of
halftime.
them,
He
them
was
being
out there
rest in
doing
peace,
Gangsta's
Coolio.
Paradise in 2001.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that, but I think I was caught up in the foreign part of it. It was nice to see these things happen in other countries and seeing because like I know you're not necessarily a big soccer guy, but like I like the Premier League, for example.
I
You,
like it. I
you,
like it.
so like I think I just got caught up in that part of it, whereas like they, some of these teams, like the Battle Hawks, like the DC Defenders, the San Antonio Brahmas, some of that stuff is just a little too generic for my liking. Not enough to not watch it. Not enough to not watch
Yeah.
it. But it does seem inferior. And I mean, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it is
It
inferior.
is.
But I'm always here for football. I'm always here for football. I don't think it'll ever replace college football, like or anything like that. But maybe
Oh, I
somewhere
don't think
down
the
the
shelf life is longer than 5 seasons.
well, I was gonna
Best case
say maybe
scenario,
somewhere down the road,
2027. Yeah,
maybe
best
somewhere
case
down the
scenario.
road, we can get to a point where maybe the college to NFL eligibility rule chops a year off or something. So maybe you get some college guys going there quicker, or like because I know there were some guys in the AFL that
See, the college football is never going to give up on their stronghold because that's what
that's true.
NCAA basketball tried to get. The
Right, right.
NCAA football and the NFL they have a two-headed interest. They have the interest of being entertaining at the NFL level and entertaining at the college level. So they can argue that, oh, you 19-year-old out of high school, you are not physically ready for this next league. And here's the proof. Here's the science behind it. Here's just the sheer size of your incoming freshman. The 5-star quarterback out of Texas is like 6'3", 199. Yeah, you're not ready to stand in the pocket and let
Like I know.
Roquan Smith come through unblocked. Like, come on.
Imagine freshman Bryce Young in the NFL,
Fresh out of Mater Dei from California. Now he get drafted by the Rams and Aaron Donald hits you at practice. It's a wrap.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
So I
they had
get
that
that
real
part of
argument.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that part of
And they're
it.
not going to give that up.
But that's the advantage that like a league like the G League has, over a league like this. But this league is also like the G League is presented as a developmental league. We're building these players up with the intention of possibly making NBA rosters at some point. Like the XFL is almost, I don't call them an equal, but it's almost like we're on the same footing as the NFL. We are a professional league already, So
But think about this. The XFL is on TV. We're talking about it on our podcast. It's entertaining. It's getting former players. I'm not sure how many G League teams are getting Saturday afternoon spots.
no, this
So
is
I
true.
think because we love football, we being Americana, we love football so much. If you put it on at the right time with just enough games, we'll rock with it. 8 games. I could do 8. I could do
Well,
8 weeks.
but see,
I
that's
could do
another
8 weeks
concern.
between free agency and then the NBA playoffs ramping up, where they got a couple of rounds of the playoffs for the XFL, and then boom, championship in San Antonio, and they're out of there. They're flash in the
And
pan. They
see,
give
but
you
see,
8 to 10 weeks.
that's another concern. That's another concern that I have. Like, we talk about college sports, March Madness. These dudes, Iona, Rick Pitino looks good, gets called by St. John's and he's gone. Like we're looking at the G League, the NBA, they just hired OKC has the coach that came from the Oklahoma City Blue, and Jerry Stackhouse came from the G League and is now coaching at Vanderbilt. So these guys like Rod Woodson, start getting call ups from the NFL, are they going to turn the NFL down to stay in the XFL?
I
Probably
don't
not.
think I don't I'm not sure. But if you think about that, if you just look at like the coaches, they probably picked this particular time of the year because it's less time, unless you have head coaching aspirations to be in the NFL. But I think if that was the case, you would just call up a former defensive coordinator or a former offensive coordinator or a former wide receivers coach and say, "Hey, let me get on your staff so I can build up my name." Because is someone going to look at the XFL championship as a reason to try to bring a guy up? Unlikely.
Well, not maybe not necessarily to a head coaching position per se, but I imagine that if you're an XFL coach and an NFL team offers you, say, an offensive coordinator position, I imagine your salary's still going to be double to three times what you were making in
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
XFL as a
yeah.
head
It's gonna be a
coach.
sky.
Yeah.
It's gonna skyrocket for
Yeah,
sure.
so that would be my concern as far as the feasibility, because I started off my part of the discussion with the names associated with the league, but those type of names, not necessarily those specific names, but those type of names have to be associated with the league for it to go forward, I believe.
Yes.
So that's just what I was thinking about that. But speaking of names, you know, I was looking for Jimmy Butler to come out here tonight and lay his stamp out here and say y'all saw me, because I call him Jimmy Bubbles, because he never, because everybody wants to put the asterisk by the Lakers name in their championship. I don't do that, but people do that. But Jimmy Butler, I ain't never seen Jimmy Butler like I seen Jimmy Butler in the bubble. I ain't never seen Jamal Murray like I seen Jamal Murray in the bubble.
Man, I haven't seen him at all.
But Raph, we got some playoff matchups now. We got some seeds. We got some matchups. So before we get into these breakdowns real quick, is there a matchup that we currently have? Because obviously we're waiting for the play-in to wrap up. But is there a matchup right now that we have that stands out to you?
I know this is probably chalk, but Kings Warriors is a big one, especially after I saw that. Rewatched the clip of what Draymond said on the shop early this year before the season started. Like, essentially, I'm paraphrasing. He was like, "I can't really get up and get my engine going for the terrible teams like the Kings or OKC or something like that." He was like, "If Giannis is coming to town, if LeBron's coming to town, I can get up for that." But he was like, "I can't really get up for the Kings." And then it rolls right into the fact that they're the 6 seed and the Kings are the 3 seed. And now he better get that engine going. He better be ready to go. So I like that one. I like Brooklyn, Philly. I don't think there's going to be. I want to say there won't be any upsets, but I think that's too easy because somebody has to get a break. A five. I don't know if a 5-4 is an upset. Um. So 6-3, 6-3, 7-2, 8-1. Of those, those six on each side, I don't see any of them actually losing. I know people want to believe that the Lakers can beat Memphis, but the Lakers got to get 7 because they're in the play-in. They have to play it for the play-in. So, like, yeah, everyone's hot and everyone's live, but is it sustainable? I don't really think so. I think Brooklyn, Philly, I think that could be intriguing if we get the James Harden post MVP playoff James Harden, where he just
Disappearing
kind of
acts.
disappears. Um, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to wish any ill will on anybody, but someone's going to tweak a hamstring, someone's going to roll an ankle of any one of these teams. It just depends on, does Kawhi tweak an ankle, and now they're playing without Paul George for a couple of games. Does Draymond get 2 technicals and get suspended for a game? Does he throw a punch? Does Ja Morant celebrate too much in one of the nights and now he's not allowed to play in the next game? I mean, like, all these things could happen. So I just don't think. I think it's on the court. You're gonna get one. It might be possible that 1, 2, 3, and 4 in each conference win out.
Well, if we get Lakers Memphis, there's always the Shannon Sharp conundrum. But I'm actually interested. I'm actually if New Orleans gets in, I'm actually excited to see who they match up with because they gave Phoenix a little run last year in the first round. So can New Orleans, are they young enough to keep up with Memphis? Are they talented enough to give Denver issues? If they end up as the eight. So from that standpoint, I look at it that way. But also, the Knicks and Cavs, I think, has the ability to be the best series overall, just because I think that they're just not necessarily evenly matched, but the Knicks are a lot better than I like to give them credit for.
The
And
Knicks
I'm
are
willing.
probably gonna get swept. Not because I think they're bad. Not because I think they're bad or anything like that. I just think that everyone is banking on that being the best playoff series of all the ones we get. I
but you
think
know
everyone's
what?
kind of out of the eight, what was that, the four in each conference, out of the eight that we get, aside from the play in, everyone's looking at that one as the most intriguing one because the rest of them seem to be one, two, three, and four in the West. I think everyone just believes that those are going to be the winners. The only
Well, you
one
know
that's
what?
somewhat in doubt realistically is Knicks Cavs,
Real,
and I think
real,
everyone's hoping that's going to be a good one. It could suck if
real,
it
real
isn't.
sports, real sports 365 got me intrigued, right? Because like somebody used the phrase playoff Kawhi. And my retort to that was like, what I remember about playoff Kawhi is blowing a 3-1 in the bubble against Denver, getting hurt and Paul George leading the Clippers to their first ever Western Conference Finals, giving up 40 points to Luca for like a whole series, even though he's like God's
Twice.
gift to defense, and then last year, they went out very unceremoniously. So I'm like, first of all, I get he's from LA, but the basketball move for Kawhi was probably to stay in Toronto with the X-Men, but that's just me. So I'm excited to kind of see this series. I hope Paul George does come back to make it even more exciting. But we saw Paul George lead teams without Kawhi, back when he was in Indiana, got to the conference finals. I mentioned he took the Clippers to the conference finals once Kawhi got hurt. Like,
Had the Heatles on the rope.
yeah, I want to see Kawhi now. Let me see Kawhi without Paul George. Let's see what this looks like. Because, we talk about LeBron being old and all that stuff like that. I don't know how much knee life Kawhi got left. He looks good this season, but he's just going to Todd Gurley one day, and I'm, so there ain't many
Gave that
years
man a
left.
bird.
Yeah, there ain't many knees left. But let's get to this. So all right, so we'll start off. We'll start off in the East. We'll go geography style. We'll start off in the East. We'll start at the bottom with Knicks Cavs. So you really think that the Knicks could get swept?
I'm not saying it's not because I think they won't play well. It's just because everyone I seen every pundit that I'm talking to, and if you look at all how it breaks down, you have Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Mobley. I mean Julius Randle. You have Madison Square Garden. Everything you got everything kind of set up to where it could be like this great series, and that's the only real hope. Everything else seems to have a reason why the top team is going to beat the other team, except for this one. And I think that makes it the most intriguing. I hope it goes seven because I think this is going to be the most intriguing series. I think the rest of the series are going to be pretty much a lot of teams winning in five or six in this first round, six being a stretch. Um, Even like I said, I hate to doubt the Lakers. I just think that it's only so much energy you have. And if you've been ramped up since February and now you're playing a team that basically just, even with all the controversy Memphis had, they still easily cleared 50 wins. No,
It's
like
only so long. It's only so
they
long. Us
fired
could pretend.
I mean, they had everyone's talking about Dylan Brooks and John Morant and all, but it's like they still go out there and win. Last year without Ja, they were 20-2, and they gave Golden State everything they can handle. I'm just not sure how much, and I want for the Lakers to win the first round because I think it's intriguing for LeBron. I like watching them play, not wanting like a person like, oh, I really want them to win. I just think it's dope. I just think it would be a dope thing for someone playing this long to advance. But being realistic, it's unlikely because everything else is gonna be chalk, man. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Come on, Raph.
That's what I
Come on,
think.
Raph.
So
Come
if
on,
if you
Raph. Don't
want
be one of
anything
those
different,
people.
no,
Don't be
I
one
don't
of those
think they're gonna
people. I
win.
asked you about Knicks Cavs, and you gonna sit up here and talk about LeBron for 5 minutes?
I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about all of it because
Well, I'm
pretty
talking
much
about
the
Knicks
whole
Cavs.
Knicks Cavs is going to be
We will get to
exciting,
the Lakers.
but
We
they
will
will
get to
both
the
lose in
Lakers.
the second round.
We will get
Like
to the Lakers. Like
these
so.
playoffs are going to be boring,
All right. So I got Cavs
for
in
lack of a better
six.
word.
I got Cavs in six because I looked at this matchup as who do you trust more, the Cleveland backcourt or the Knicks front court? And I don't trust Julius Randle as far as I can throw him, and I can't throw him very far to begin with.
What makes you trust
But
Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, though?
well, I mean, Donovan Mitchell has played good in the playoffs.
He
I've
hasn't
seen
had
it.
much since that
You,
50
you, you
point
know,
bubble, and they
it,
blew that 3-1 lead.
and that's still more than what I've seen from Julius Randle in the playoffs.
I mean,
and,
you keep taking your
and
firing off at
and
Julius
and
Randle.
there's also I love Evan Mobley. That's my guy. But as far as the backcourt goes, Garland's nothing. Garland's not. Darius Garland is pretty good as well. And the Knicks have Emmanuel Quickly. UK Wildcat and all that. But a lot of these Knicks haven't necessarily been in these moments per se. Whereas Jared Allen played for Brooklyn when they made the little playoff run a couple years ago. So like so some of these guys have been here.
So he
Thibodeau
played for an
also,
underachieving Brooklyn team with a big
it's
that was the team that
experience.
overachieved.
It's experience. You know what I mean? But also, with that being said, the Cavs have the number one ranked defense in points per game. And they're second in what they hold opponents to on the boards. So the Knicks are going to miss a lot of shots and probably not going to grab a lot of rebounds. So that's why I can't necessarily pick them to win the series. But I
And
think they have an
Thibodeau teams do
explosion.
flame out in the playoffs
Yeah,
because they
they're
play
worn
so
out.
ramped up all the time.
Yeah, so I can see that. Like I agree with that. So you said earlier that you think Brooklyn could give Philly a series.
I said that because I think, like I've probably used this phrase before. I think Brooklyn's playing with house money. I think they're a team that I think people feel sorry for Brooklyn because they underachieve with
I
James
don't.
Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Publicly, the pundits, no one's killing the Sean Marks or Joe Side. They're all like, you know what, you had to do what you had to do. Kyrie was doing this, and KD was always hurt. When they were on the floor together, it was so great. And I think people just kind of give them the sympathy pass, like the way people used to get a pass to KD back in the day when we were talking about this a while ago. I'm like pre
Uh-huh.
2016 and previous KD got the passes. Brooklyn's getting those passes. So I think they have a young team. They got nothing to lose. No one's expecting them to win. I think that series can be entertaining because I think they might steal one. Because sometimes Philly, we talked about, what you're talking about Doc Rivers struggles here. You have those numbers. But I think a team like Brooklyn, nothing to lose, young, bunch of guys got traded, and then you have a vet like Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith. You just have these guys that they just play basketball well. And as Mikal Bridges came on, and I think that his emergence, and if you get Cam in the game, I know he don't play defense, but let him get in there and fire up 10 threes. He goes 6 for 10, you got 18 points right there off the bench. If his
Yeah.
plus minus is +4, you're good to go.
See, that's the thing about coaching, right? Like you got to follow patterns, trends. You got to use what works. I think Jock Vaughn has done an exceptional job this season. But if there was the thing to criticize him about, is that I would criticize him about Cam Thomas. I mean, the guy has 3 or 4 40-point games,
in a
but he
row.
plays every 6 or 7 games. Like he finished the season. I mean, granted, they lost by 29, but he finished the last game of the season with 46 points. So, you can't keep that kind of guy on the bench, especially against a team like Philly, who, they have Embiid that can go off for 40. Harden can get you he can still get you 30 on a good night. Maxey can get you, 25 to 30 like in a game. And of course, with Philly, I'm still waiting for Tobias Harris to show up for a series.
That dude
Like
shows up get that check.
he's not as good as James Harden, so he doesn't get the criticism. But I'm waiting for him to show up for a series. And ladies and gentlemen, the Atlanta Hawks have beat the Miami Heat. Went to Miami and put something on them. So
Because
there you
Miami
go.
can't score.
Yeah, Miami can't score. But also, Brooklyn just doesn't have enough people that can create their own offense. Like Mikal Bridges his trajectory is going to where people are trying to put Kawhi. Like he's having that like impactful defender that who knew if you give him the ball, he's a basketball player and he's actually pretty good at this. So, so I think that 2-3 years from now, Mikal Bridges, like when we look back at this deal, we're going to say like, wow, Brooklyn really made out. But
Oh,
I
if that's
think
the
Brooklyn.
case, then Brooklyn will butcher it and he'll be somewhere else by the midseason next year.
so I
They've
give
done
Brooklyn
nothing.
I give Brooklyn a game in this series. But if you're Brooklyn, all you got to do is fall down 3-1 and you got the Sixers right where you want them because Doc Rivers has blown not one, not LeBron style, not one, not two. He's blown 3-1 leads in the playoffs. And I know it's a team sport. I know that the players play, but you're associated with that. So, so I don't think that'll bite them in this series, but playing Boston in the second round, keep an eye on that, But I think this will be that series where Brooklyn might lose every game by 4 to 7 points. So they show out well, but they just don't have enough to get over the top. I think Embiid's going to call his number. He's going to average about 31 and 14, something along those lines. So as long as Harden doesn't pull his disappearing act, I think Philly should move safely into the
When
second
did they
round.
announce the MVP?
Usually not until right before the Western Conference Finals.
It's a while. Okay.
Or I mean, I'm sorry,
So
the conference finals. Yeah, right before the conference finals.
okay. So we'll see. We'll see.
But also where Brooklyn may be in trouble is that Philly is number 1 in the league in free throw percentage at 83.5%. And not only that, but Joel Embiid is number 2 in free throw attempts per game. And Harden is still top 15 in free throws per game. So they got to keep Philly off the free throw line because that'll just give Philly free points to build leagues and crush momentum and all that stuff like that. So, but I got Philly in 5. So we'll skip over Boston and Milwaukee for now because I think it's safe to assume that we think they're going to win their first round series no matter who they play against.
Yep.
And probably pretty easily at that. So let's transition to the West for a second. And let's talk about it, bro. Like, I'm going to skip 4 or 5 for a second. Let's talk about it. Draymond don't want to get up for the Kings, but I need the Warriors to get up for a road game before they start facing an 0-2 hole.
11 and 30 on the road.
Yes.
I think only 2 or 3 teams have worse records, and those teams were tanking for Wembanyama.
So do the Kings have a chance?
Absolutely. They have a chance because they played better all year. They have 2 all-pro caliber basketball players. They have the coach of the year, Mike Brown, who has playoff experience. And they have an advantage over Golden State because Golden State can't play on the road. Even though I don't know how road this really is. Sacramento and San Francisco is pretty close. It's not that far. So I don't know I don't even know if you really have to stay at the hotel. Do you travel from home? Like, just depends on what side of the bay you live on. Maybe they have to travel to a hotel, stay in a hotel overnight, whatever the case may be. But I think Sacramento, yes, they are in the bottom third of the defensive stats. A couple stats like 3-point percentage allowed, 2-point percentage allowed, points allowed, but they have players on the offensive end that can outrun and outgun you, and sometimes that might be the case. If it gets down to where the referees are just basically holding the whistle and blowing foul call after foul call and keeping the game slow, then they might be in trouble. But you can't do that for 4, 5, 6, 7 games. It might be a couple of games where the whistle does impact the game and making smart defensive adjustments is going to have to occur. But that's where you get Mike Brown. He's not inept at making these kind of calls. He's a good quality NBA coach who was his own head coach, bounced around, spent some years with Golden State. He knows the system. He knows the players. He knows what they like. He knows their sweet spots. So even if your team isn't good defensively, at least you can say, hey, when Clay gets to here, these are the two things he likes to do the most. When Steph does this, he likes to do this. Draymond will not shoot from this part of the floor. Give him this, whatever the case may be, because he has some information. Granted,
But
people change, but I think that advantage does give them an overall advantage. And on top of the
but
fact
are
that they're
you
11-30 on the
picking
road.
it?
Yeah, I'm picking it. I'm picking the Kings over the Warriors.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, it's mad. It's like it seems exciting because the names from 5 to 8 are like the teams we thought were going to be 1 through 4. Maybe if you mix in the Suns, people probably thought the Suns would be in there, but for the most part, Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, and people thought the Timberwolves probably going to take a next step. They probably thought those teams were going to be 1 through 4, maybe 5. But the fact that they're 5, 6, 7, 8, that's the shocking part. But the reason they're 5, 6, 7, 8 is the way that they played all year. So I'm going to
The
give
only
credit to the team that played well all year against a team that hasn't played well on the road. When one
the only
team
step
has
that the
4 games at
Timberwolves
home,
the only step the Timberwolves are taking are into the heavyweight division.
yo,
Saying like, Rudy Gobert and Anthony Joshua, baby, coming soon to a thing. but
that
no,
solar plex punch, you got to hit them
no,
right here. People always want to hit people in the face. They can't breathe. They can't fight, man. That's how you start off a
so
fight. You hit them in the solar plex.
so I do agree. I do agree that Sacramento has a chance. I'm not picking it. I'm picking Golden State in 7. Because simply, and yeah, nostalgia, all that good stuff. They got Clay and Steph, and Sacramento don't. It's just that simple for me. What I'm afraid of, you talked about the defense. What I'm afraid of
I'm listening. I'm
is
just writing
that
something down. I want to say when you're
okay.
done.
Yeah. So like what I'm afraid of is that Sabonis is going to turn into Jokic, and Golden State is just going to pick on him, put him in foul trouble. He's going to sit on the bench a lot during this series just because he's going to be in foul trouble. So that scares me for him. But what I'm excited about is, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or so, 176 to 175 against the Clippers. We got a chance to get that in one of these playoff games. Both teams are top 3 in points per game. They're top 3 in assists. So the one thing that could bite the Warriors is they play with their food too much. Like a lot of times the Warrior has, as a championship pedigree type team, they have their chance to put their foot on your necks, and they don't. For some reason, like there's always a game in a series where Steph suddenly goes 4 for 14 or something along those lines, and it's like always at a very
Yeah.
pivotal. Like you
Game
always
5
hear,
in the finals. Yeah. He
yeah,
had
and you
16
always hear me
points.
talk about Game 7 against the Cavs, that dumbass pass
Behind the back
that I
pass.
still haven't forgiven him for.
He's
You know
still
what I
mad
mean?
about that.
Golden State did win the season series 3-1. Not that truly matters, but just throwing that out there. I think that De'Aaron Fox is not going to be afraid of the moment. Like, he strikes me as the guy that's going to relish in this moment. He's going to want to make a statement. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, I was telling somebody, if you want to see the best of Kyrie Irving, put Steph on the other side of the court. For some reason, when Kyrie sees Steph, his eyes light up like a kid on Christmas. So I think De'Aaron Fox is going to look across the court They
like
may
when he
put
did
Clay
with
on him.
Alonzo.
Yeah, they may put Clay on him, but Clay's not the defender that he once was due to his
He's too
like weak
quick.
mobility
That's
now.
a
You
Kaminga.
know,
That's a Kaminga move.
but the other thing, Wiggins is back, so now you got to try to fit him in chemistry wise again. But the key to this series is the turnover source Rex known as Jordan Poole. If he can hold on to the ball, Golden State will be fine. If he plays anything like he's played during this regular season, all bets are off and Sacramento can make them pay.
Sacramento gets one game at the Chase Center,
Okay.
and they win this series because I think the 4 home games that they get, the Warriors were they were bad on the road, and I think they were like 7-21, and I was like, yo, they got a chance to turn it around,
Oh,
and they still only won 4 more games. It's like they never figured out how to win outside of their home arena. And I
right.
think that's huge, especially in the playoffs. The fans would be crazy. Sacramento, when Sacramento's good, it's chaos in the arena. I mean, the Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Vlade Divac, Pedro Stojakovic kind of crazy, Rick Alleman kind of crazy, Tim Donaghy giving the game up kind of crazy. So these fans are hungry for that. The turnovers ruin momentum. Jordan Poole likes to shoot. He fashions himself as a poor man, Steph Curry, because he's shooting and he's operating the same way.
He's more like a
And
poor man Seth Curry.
so I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know. I don't know if you need additional motivation. Like I said, I saw the video today
Uh-huh.
with Draymond talking about I don't get up for the Kings. Maybe they play that in the locker room.
Oh,
Maybe
the
someone's
Kings gonna get
sharing that
up.
with.
Even before he said that the Kings were gonna get up for them.
Yeah, but like I said, this was that was a clip from the beginning of the year before the season
Right,
started.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
So it's like, does that I want to say extra motivation because I don't think teams need extra motivation, but does that add to it? Does that another focus? Do you maybe you try to get them in technical foul trouble, whatever the case may be? I
Well,
just think that their
just,
their
just,
bad
just
road record is the thing I think is going to be their Achilles heel.
so just a quick point of reference. In the 4 games against Sacramento this year, Steph averaged 33 points. Conversely, De'Aaron Fox averaged 25 and 8, and Sabonis 21 and 17 against the Warriors.
So now
So
what you do? You put Looney on them. You put Draymond on them.
Looney might be too slow. Draymond like is probably the assignment, I would think. And now we get to find out. We get the real because I like Keegan Murray. He broke the rookie record for 3-pointers. This season
Yeah,
that
only
Donovan
rookie
Mitchell
ever
set a
over
few years
200.
ago. Yep. But what I'm interested to see, because we were talking about this, the NBA got the storylines. You know, can Harrison Barnes hit a mid-range jumper yet?
If he would have hit 2 in 2016, the Cleveland doesn't win. If he would have gone 2 for whatever he went, I don't know if he went 2. He might have went 2 for 12. If he goes 4 for 12, then they have 5 rings and LeBron has 2.
Yeah,
Because
they're
I don't
chasing
think
the
I don't think he
Bulls.
goes anywhere else and gets any more rings. I think he's like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do
But
anything
that's
with
but
this
that's just
league.
another point of reference. How motivated is he potentially for this series? Because I don't know, what his career looks like. I know like he didn't really maximize the potential that people originally thought that he had. So
I mean,
this
he
may
got
be one
traded
of
from Dallas on the bench, right? He
yeah.
went to Dallas
Like I don't think he
afterwards.
ever played for him. I think he just or like
They
he didn't play
traded him
very
in
much.
game.
Yeah.
They traded him. He
So
was on the bench in a uniform, and he got the message, a la Josh Hart, and he got
yeah.
traded in game.
But is he extra motivated in this series potentially?
I think, like I said, I think the Kings are looking at it like, yeah, we've been good all year. No questions from us, no drama, no problems. We've just been consistently good all year. We have a very level-headed coach. We have we have players in position where they can succeed. Keegan Murray is a shooter. That's what he does. Marvin Bagley, rebounder. Harrison Barnes, savvy veteran. De'Aaron Fox, your offensive clutch player. Sabonis, your versatile stretch 4 or 5, however you want to play him. you have people in the right position, you can succeed. Golden State
Yeah.
still has to figure
Well,
out how to get
if they
business
still
in.
if they still had Marvin Bagley, then yeah, you know what I mean. But like, and that would be good. But
Yeah,
since they
but
don't,
like just like
that's
all
just one
like
less
the way,
rebounder. But
just the way they just like I said, the way they play, they've had guys all year long stay in their roles and succeed.
hey, so you remember what I just said a few minutes ago about Doc Rivers, right?
What's up? What we got?
So Mr. Chris Paul, only player in NBA history to blow 5-2-0 leads in a series. Only NBA player to ever blow 4-2-0 leads in a series. Everybody keep telling me Phoenix is the favorite. Clippers got a shot?
Not healthy Suns and missing Paul George Clippers. No, just
What?
because you have it's just the Phoenix Big Four. People should be a little bit more excited about them because I don't care how people feel about Aiden.
pursuit
What
pursuit of
him being
happiness.
your him being your fourth option, and he doesn't really seem. I know he like last year they had like the little dust up on the sideline, and then his contract negotiation kind of went a little wonky. But essentially, you can get 16 and 12 out of him by just lob passes, bounce passes from Chris Ball, put back dunks off of rebounds. You get a ball to Booker. Now you have to put your second best defender on Booker. Like you simply have to do it. So you put your second best defender on Booker. Now you got to put your best defender on KD. If your best defender isn't 6'7", I mean, how effective can they be? If your best defender that you decide to put on KD is Kawhi, how effective are you as a team offensively if Kawhi has to guard KD? And then Chris Paul, say what you want about Chris Paul. He is an old man, but he's played like an old man since college. Like he's played slow, he's played with the hip, he's played getting fouled, he's played, a couple of dirty hits here and there. He's played like the old man. Now he just happens to be old. So it's not like he has to adjust his game. He literally mid-range jumpers. He's not trying to beat you off the dribble. He's trying to beat you to the free throw line extended. So the fact that they all play that way, and then you have KD who is essentially unguardable. So if he's on, what are you gonna do? Because he can also play defense. Even if he doesn't play that hard on defense, just length already. The fact that whoever if someone's guarding him, they're gonna be exhausted on the offense, on their defensive end. They're gonna come back up, and now you got 7 foot tall KD also guarding you, and then you got Aiton behind him. So it's just like I think they just have too many weapons, and considering that Paul George is injured, even if he comes back in the series, he's coming back off an injury. So I mean, like I'm gonna go ahead and give Phoenix this. If it's 6, I'll say 6, just to be respectful to the ratings.
well, well, Phoenix, or I'm sorry, the Clippers got to hit Phoenix with that Tupac. That we bomb first when we ride, because the 3-pointer is the equalizer. They went and got Eric Gordon. They went and got Bones Highland. Those guys have to prove their worth. Russ has to put that pressure, that old man
I
pressure.
forgot about Russ. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't play him in late game situations.
you can't. But early in the game, you could wear Chris Paul down a little bit if he's chasing Russ around. Like you might switch him off and all that kind of stuff like that. But if you could keep Chris Paul on his heels early, you affect his legs later. But
Check it out. If you let Russ shoot 2 or 3 open threes and he goes 0 for 3, you're gonna have a great game because you wonder why. He's gonna try to make up for the fact that he went 0 for 3 from 3 on his first 3 threes that you left him open on, and he's gonna keep firing away. It's his time with the Lakers versus his time with the Clippers is basically the same. The percentage is the same. I think his 3-point shooting has gone up. substantially.
Yeah,
But
he actually finished the season like slightly better than turnover source pool from 3-point range. But but like
yeah,
this is the thing. Like the Clippers have to hit their threes because Kawhi needs all the help he can get. I don't know when Paul George is coming back. At the very least, he's gonna miss game one. I probably expect him to miss the first 2 games and maybe play when they get back to LA if he does come back. So
but
if
he's
they get
rusty.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If they get Paul George back, then I see the 6, game 6. If not, then it's probably 5 because I think Kawhi is just going to have to do too much because not only is he going to have to potentially guard KD, and then when Booker get hot, he's going to have to slide over, but he's also going to, like I talked about Mikal Bridges having to average 34. I'm not saying Kawhi has to average 34, but he's probably going to have to average 29. He's probably going to have to grab 10 boards. He might have to average 5 or 6 assists as
And he's
well.
never done that.
That's what I'm saying.
He's never gonna do that.
That's what I'm
That's never
saying.
happened.
And,
I'm
and that's why
revising my pick.
that's why I
I
don't
got
think
Phoenix in 5.
but that's why
I would.
I think they
You know
can't win
what?
this series.
I'm gonna go sweep.
That's
Suns
why
in 4. Like, oh
okay.
boy, they got in a fight in the stands. I don't want to big
Yeah.
them up because they seem to, certain
Yeah.
demographics get to
Nah,
highlight their violence.
I'm gonna give Kawhi a game, but you know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, I think that he's just gonna do too much. And by the way, not that it truly matters, but just point of reference. Phoenix hasn't lost a game with Kevin Durant in the lineup yet. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if the
mean,
Suns
and
are the
that's
favorite.
that's not a small thing. I think that speaks to what he is, what he brings to your team. That's why I'm not sure why people weren't more livid with the trade because
Uh-huh.
you could have, like, Brooklyn. We get it. You had the big 3, you guys failed. But why you jam up the rest of the NBA by sending KD to the team that just went to the finals a couple years ago? You could have
Oh,
sent him
and
back to OKC.
and side note, real quick, we're underway in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Carl Anthony
I'm about
Towns.
30 seconds behind you.
Carl Anthony Towns, as a Kentucky Wildcat fan, I know what you are capable of.
But you're
But it
not saying the
doesn't
same thing to AD.
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I believe in you if you don't believe in you.
Man, cut this out. Cut this out.
No.
Why are you not rooting for the Wildcat that plays for the Lakers?
Because
He won an
because
MOP.
he wears grape and urine. That's why I like been hating the Lakers since '88, baby. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so you got those 2 series going on. So let's just go ahead and play along with it. So the Lakers end up at 7 or 8. Like we'll just play a quick game, 7 or 8. Do they have the better chance against Memphis or Denver?
Memphis, because Memphis lost some of their interior defense. I mean, they still got Triple J, but no Steven Adams. The other guy,
Clark.
Brandon Clark. He's out. So I think
LeBron looking short
AD,
on that jumper.
well, D'Angelo Russell was long in his first one. So, like I said, I'm at 11:36. I think you probably
All
got me
right,
by a
I'm
little
a
bit because
chill.
we're
I'm a
streaming.
chill, but I'm just, I just had
Yeah,
to throw that out there real quick.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
So I just think that AD playing like the player of the month that was awarded in the month of March. I think that can maybe give Memphis some trouble. But I think the Lakers just, I don't know. I don't really feel like, I don't know if they have enough. I don't know if they have like all the pieces consistently. I think they have pieces, and I'm not sure if Austin Reeves is going to be able to get you 20 points and 6 assists and play tough defense
Well,
throughout the entirety of the playoffs.
I wonder if it's Denver because Memphis at least has Ja Morant who can, go get 30 on a given night and put pressure on your defense since he's the primary ball handler. It's something you said a couple of episodes ago stood out to me. We were talking about who's the MVP, and you said something along the lines of like, hey, Giannis can go get 40 and put me on his back, and Embiid can go get me 40 and put it on, like Not that
Backpack
Jokic can't
players.
do that.
Backpack players.
Yeah,
That's what.
not
Yeah,
that
that's what I
Jokic,
call it. Yeah.
not that Jokic can't do that, but I view Jokic like as a Chris Paul. You know, even though he's a center, I look at him like a Chris Paul. Like if Chris Paul got 35 points, you want that. You know, if
That
Jokic
means
got
Booker got
35 points, you
16.
want that. Yeah, and just going back to the bubble, I can't shake Jokic struggling with AD the way that he was. You know, so from that standpoint, that's where I could see the Lakers giving Denver a little bit more trouble. Like
I
Denver's
remember
deeper.
Jokic in the bubble, but Jokic did something in that break for COVID. He came back lighter, like thinner. Like he
Yeah, but
lost
he
a
ain't got three
lot of
months
weight.
off this time.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think he does that anymore. I think he put the
Yeah,
weight
so
back on and said, I'm keeping that weight because he probably got bounced around by
so that's
AD
why I
because
think
he
it's
came back.
Denver.
Everyone was like, whoa. So yeah.
That's why I think it's Denver because I mentioned Jamal Murray. Like I haven't seen that Jamal Murray since the bubble. Like unless that Jamal Murray shows up, Denver's not scary. And you know, speaking of that Jamal Murray, I haven't seen air quotes that Odell Beckham in a few years, but the Ravens obviously see something that I don't see. Is it desperation? What's the deal, Raph?
Baby, come back. You can put it all on me. That's what they're singing to Lamar right
Woo!
now.
Call Anthony Towns.
I was wrong. And they're like,
Bootleg Will
listen,
Smith.
we will we will pay Lamar, come back to the table. We went got you Nelson Aguilar, got you Odell Beckham Jr. Credit Rich Eisen. He said, keep this thing going. Call Arizona and see what they want for DeAndre Hopkins. He was like, just go for it. He's like, you have a small window to do things, go for it. Personally, I don't know how you make that work. They do have a new passing offensive scheme with their new offensive coordinator, but you're gonna need wide receivers. Odell Beckham's contract, though, it's quirky. It's quirky. It's 13 million at signing. His
Yeah,
base salary
I
is
think
like
I heard 15,
1.1. Yeah, it's 50. The salary is
15
15,
guaranteed. Yeah.
but
And up to 18.
He got 13 million when he signed.
Uh-huh.
So that was guaranteed. So now the season is gonna get like 1.185 million or something like that. I don't know why they paid that much, but like I said, a lot of guys are getting 1 year deals. People can look at it like a show me deal, but I can't think of a team that was gonna give him probably more than 10. Because I was talking to my dad. I'm like, yo, 2 years, 20 million guaranteed, 14 of it. I think somebody would give him that deal. And it wasn't happening. They said it was rumored that he wanted like 20 million. But Baltimore seems to be doing everything they can to try to convince Lamar to come and play for them. Short of doing the one thing that can guarantee that he will come back and play for them, just cut the check. Do the math, figure it out, cut the check. If you
Yo,
have
you
to
can't convince me to
overload
come back by
offensively,
cutting my money.
listen, and we're gonna give you $13 million less. If you would have just given the other franchise tag, maybe he comes back for 45 million. But by giving him the non-exclusive one, you give him 32 and a half, and you basically parade him around the league. Like, look, see, they don't want you, they don't want you, they don't want you, they don't want you. These people put out a statement saying they don't want you. You might as well come back to us. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll give Odell Beckham 15 million because we're gonna save 50 because they're not gonna give him the guaranteed money he wants. So it looks like they're
Yeah.
overspending, but they're like, yo, no, we're not, because we're not gonna
All
give
right.
him the money he's asking for.
So I got three questions for you. Question number one. What version of Odell do we get?
I think you get that's a nice one. I think you get I think you get a like a good Giants Odell Beckham. I don't think because he's not one of these players that's out of shape. He's always in shape. He's always working out. Granted, the last couple of years he has been rehabbing, and we can't just be like, "Oh, that doesn't matter." But we did the math. Last February, so February 2022 is when he got injured. We figured he went to surgery in February, and he rehabbed for the 2022 calendar year, and now you're getting them on another off season where a lot of guys have rehabbed in one off season. So now he's working out, chip on his shoulder. Maybe it's a little bit more for him to, prove. And he's working. Hopefully, he gets working with Lamar. I think you can get about 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns out of him.
All right, question number 2. You've been talking about we ain't gonna see Lamar until week 10 anyway. So does Odell bump up that timeline?
I think he does. And I think someone's got like in order for a business deal to be a good business deal, somebody has to walk away somewhat unhappy. Both people have to walk away unhappy. Because if you get everything you want, then that means the other person didn't get everything they wanted, and there's going to be some friction. Someone's going to have to give up. They're going to have to compromise something. Like, listen, we don't want to give you more than 130 million guaranteed. You want this much. Arbitrate that. Like, listen, let's go 180 because 180 might be higher than the number they want to go. But we'll go 180 guaranteed, and we'll throw some incentives on the end. We're not going to have you sign a team-friendly Patrick Mahomes kind of deal. Rumor has it that Burrow and even Herbert would take that same kind of deal. Like, nah, we're going to give you 5 years, 240, 180 guaranteed. Can we do that? And if he can come to that, I think they're good to go. But someone's going to have to give up the number that they want and come with the best number that makes sense for the team, because you're spending all this money on wide receivers, you spend money on linebackers. You can't go into week 1 with Tyler Huntley, who's I like him, went to University of Utah, but
Pro
you can't go
Bowler.
Pro Bowler, but you can't go into the season with him when you have Lamar Jackson available to you. That's a difference.
Question number 3. Are we really going to get to the draft without somebody offering him something? Like, I know all these teams are saying that they don't want him, or whatever. There's these reports out there. And, you got Stroud, you got Young, you got Levis, you got Richardson. There's going to be a team out there that doesn't get any of those 4.
I want to say somebody has to offer, but it also seems to be a concerted effort. I'm not saying collusion because that's hard to
I
prove.
am.
It has to be a concerted effort that we as a organization, whoever we is, and insert any team name that needs a quarterback or would like to have Lamar, we cannot give the Cleveland deal to Lamar because these other teams that have young quarterbacks that are coming up, they don't want to do it. So you have Herbert's Burrow deal. Who else is Hurts? His deal's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Tua after next season. So you have like just those 5. So that's 5 different ownership groups that are like, listen, we don't want to pay this guarantee money, but if you do it, we're gonna have to do it. And if another team does it, it just I think the commotion of all of that is kind of holding people back.
Yeah,
I
right
don't
now we can
think
just
I don't
let
think anyone's
Cleveland
gonna
look
make
like
the deal.
Cleveland. Yeah, right now
Yeah,
we can
I
just
don't.
let Cleveland look like Cleveland. That's all it is.
Yeah, pretty
You,
much. And I think, oh,
so
we're gonna make Cleveland look like they made a bad deal. I think Baltimore will offer him. Someone's gonna each. I think each one of them is gonna come off their number. I don't
so
know
I
if
don't
it takes the draft to do that or what.
so I don't smell team spirit. I smell desperation. But not desperation for the reasons that you think. So obviously, I would think Baltimore wants to resolve this Lamar Jackson thing. They just want to, obviously, at this point, they still want to resolve it on their terms, but they do want to resolve it. but they're desperate because I'm looking here: Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, Shamar Bridges, Andy Isabella, Mike Thomas, not that Mike Thomas, and Tylon Wallace. So yeah, Baltimore needed something like an Odell Beckham, and it's a 1-year deal. So if it doesn't work out, you cut your losses, you move on. I don't necessarily like the money. I probably wouldn't have gave him more than 8 million, but that's just me. But what happens, next year if you don't work out a deal with Lamar? Then you're just right back at this point again, and possibly without Odell, because if he does look good with Tyler Huntley or whoever, or if Lamar comes back, then his market is going to increase next year.
If
And
Lamar
then
doesn't come back, Odell's gonna have hamstring tightness a lot.
but the point being is that
Back.
you may
My
not
back, my
only
back.
have to pay Lamar Jackson, but depending on how Odell looks, you may have to pay him too, because now Lamar's like, hey, you brought this dude in, you can't just let him walk now. So
Well, no, that's the thing. If they lock Lamar up, I think Odell's expendable if they can lock Lamar up. The problem is Baltimore is playing this game that everyone thinks that the ultimate motivator for their employees is money. Respect is in
right,
there too. Yes, you want to
right,
get paid a wage that you deserve for the work that you do, but you got to respect too. And the way they are dangling the money in front of him, he's taking his disrespect. So
right,
if he's taking
right,
his disrespect and you don't alter that, you just kind of just hope that he's just gonna ride, because essentially the $32.5 million franchise tag that they applied to him is, I know that number is high, but it wasn't meant for him to uh feel like the team respects him. Like that wasn't levied upon him because they have a hope for him, or they're
right,
showing like a high regard for him. They did that as like, well, yes, you got to protect yourself as a team to make sure that you don't just commit all this money to him as a franchise player. And you can maybe somebody would have given up the 2 first round picks and given him that. So you can't just let him walk. So I understand it from that aspect. But if you're so concerned with keeping him and you want him and you want to give him 32 million, why can't you make a deal happen where you get him to you guys get each other to the numbers? It's simple Venn diagram. He wants this, you want that. Where can we meet? Where can we meet here and make that number happen? Because all you're doing is showing disrespect, and then every time you talk, you're pissing off other players. Like as we look at it, it just doesn't seem and it doesn't fit like the behavior of a team that wants you. Because look at what these teams are doing for draft picks. Like, look what Carolina gave up to move up to 1. Look what St. Louis did to get the 1 to get golf. What Philly did to get the 2 to get. So these guys are moving heaven and earth to
yeah.
get draft picks. But
RG3
you're
and
telling
Wentz,
me
yeah.
off the rip, you're just like, oh, we're not in the market for Lamar. But we are Carolina. We are in the market to give up draft capital, multiple play draft capital, and our best receiver to go
For a
get a
dude that
quarterback.
never played down in the NFL.
I mean, you could have just given up 2 first-round picks, kept DJ Moore, and just got Lamar from Baltimore down to Carolina, paid him
Yeah,
his
for a
200
dude that
million,
won MVP at like 22.
and he
I
won a
mean,
Heisman. He
it
won a
sounds like
Heisman in college, had better numbers the second year after he won a Heisman, then
well,
wins an MVP in the league. And it's like, nah, we want to go get this dude out of Ohio State.
unfortunately, my hometown is a mess, because, it was just a couple of months ago we were sharing articles about Rashard Bateman calling out the GM, and the GM talking about we need better receivers. And it's like, I wonder whose job it is to get better receivers.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
kind of your whole thing, bro.
yeah, that's kind of your wheelhouse right there. So, and that's crazy because, like this is a team that, with like the very first draft picks they had as the Ravens, they got Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis. And now we're sitting up here talking about these dudes can't draft. The only thing that changed was the GM. So,
Yeah, they have their philosophy, and
but
I
you know,
and I wish a lot of teams adopted that, but at some point you're gonna have to alter. Be like, you know what? Is this the right move? Being this stubborn
Yeah.
collectively, both of them. Is it worth being this stubborn when we're almost halfway through April?
Well, the number three has taken over the NBA. All these games are basically 3-point shootouts. But in this upcoming NFL draft in a few weeks, is three a lucky number? Because word on the street is Arizona is getting some calls.
Only thing I can assume at 3 is Stroud is going 1. Rumor has it. Bryce Young's going 2. That leaves Levis or Richardson 3. But I also heard that Frank Wright is banging on the table for Richardson at 1. And if that information is true, if Carolina, because I was watching, I believe it was Good Morning Football, Good Morning NFL, NFL Network. They had Thomas Davis, former Panthers linebacker. He said as soon as they made the trade to get the 1, that people high up in the organization want Anthony Richardson. So if that's true, and I love all the rumors, pre-draft rumors is great. It gives us so much to talk about, and we're hoping somebody's right. But if Richardson is going 1 and Bryce Young's going 2 to Houston, or if Bryce Young falls to 3, I can see teams getting excited about getting up to 3 if Richardson goes 1. Because I don't know if everybody's that excited on Richardson, simply because if you look at his combine numbers were off the charts, his college passing numbers weren't. I mean, like that's just a simple fact of it. If you think you can take that athleticism and mold it and make it work in Carolina, go for it. You get everybody, all 32 teams don't have to like you, just one. That's it. But if you're a team like Tennessee and you're like, oh, CJ Stroud or Bryce Young's about to fall to 3, and we know Arizona's not taking a quarterback, Indy wants one. So it's like you gotta make that move. But I mean, Tampa Bay, they just signed Baker Mayfield. Do they jump all the way up to 3 and get CJ Stroud and have him
It's only a 1-year deal.
sit behind Baker for a year? Does Green Bay do something crazy and jump up and move Jordan Love during the draft? I mean, who knows? That sounds like crazy fantasy
I was gonna
football
say,
talk.
who wants him?
I don't know. I mean, no one wants Lamar's, but Derek Carr got a deal, so you don't know who wants who. But like realistically, as I look at the draft order, maybe the Commanders feel froggy and they don't really feel great about Sam Howell. Maybe they jump to 3 and
Hey,
get
leave
CJ
us out
Stroud
of
if he's
this.
going to be available.
Leave us out of this.
Where's Tennessee? Tennessee is at 11. So if I'm a betting man, which I am, I got Tennessee going to 3 to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. If the rumor of Richardson to Carolina is true, if Frank Wright really wants Richardson at 1, and then who knows what happens
You
from
know how
there.
it's always funny how this happens because you're all like, "Yo, maybe your team will go up there," and I'm like, "No, maybe your team will go up there." Because if I'm the Falcons, I still don't know what I have in Desmond Ritter, but what I do know is that he doesn't have any of the upside of these dudes up there in this draft.
If you
You
think
know,
about it, he does. I mean, he only lost a couple of games. I think he went like 26-2 in college. His record is on par with what their college records were. Atlanta was a team that ran the ball a lot last year. Didn't create too many turnovers. Now they're bolstering the defensive side.
But you're
I think
also
they're going to keep that
leaving
going.
out level of competition. You're also leaving out level of competition with that
They only
26
played
and 2
6.
record.
Oh, well, listen, you play who you play. It's not like
Yeah,
Alabama
you
and
play who you
Ohio
play. I'm
State.
not knocking them. I'm not knocking
Yeah.
them. I'm just
They
saying that
went
as a
out here
statement
playing
of
a bunch of
fact.
world beaters every week. It wasn't LSU every single week for Ohio State or Alabama either.
Well,
So
where it could get interesting, I don't think this is a thing, but where it does get interesting is just last week, right here on Sports Reports is Ordered. We talked about Mac Jones, possibly being on the move. So, does Belichick pull the surprise of the century and move up for one of these guys? And if so, which guy? Like, I would think Bryce Young is probably the one, or but knowing Belichick, it might be Will Levis. I never, I never trust the Raiders to stay in their place. Like the Raiders, that's not something the Raiders are known for. They don't stay in their place. So I could see the Raiders, even though they picked up Jimmy G, I could see the the Raiders being enamored with Anthony Richardson. Like nothing screams Raider like super athletic, fast dude that only they will move the sun for,
yeah,
but
but I think this other movement might be because the rumor regarding Richardson to Carolina might be true.
but I do like Tennessee, because we talk about Tannehill and what are they going what's going to happen with him, and we saw enough maybe out of Malik Willis that they at least may Vrabel might be trying to convince people to pause that experiment, if not just flat out give up on it,
Yeah,
but
the Malik Willis pick was not the pick he wanted.
some articles that I saw I thought were dumb. Like I saw like Seattle and Detroit potentially
Yeah, it makes no
moving up to
sense.
3. It makes no sense to me because we know Indy's going quarterback. So to me, it makes more sense for Indy to move up to 3, even though I'm not saying that makes sense. But it would make more sense for Indy to move up to 3 to protect themselves getting a quarterback than it would Seattle or Detroit moving up. Because
See what
what are they?
Indy has this. Lamar Jackson is still out there.
Right. And Ursay might be
Indy
drunk enough to do it.
or drunk off them perps, something. All I'm saying is
Yeah.
this: you got Lamar out there. If somebody jumps to 3 and this happens before the draft, then Indy get on the phone, tell Baltimore you'll give them the number 4 pick and the number 28 pick you get next year because Lamar Jackson will get you to the playoffs. You will win the AFC South with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, Indianapolis. And pay Lamar 200 million guaranteed over 4 years.
And Ursay is one of the few owners that has come out positively about Lamar Jackson, saying that you have to explore it or we're going to do our due diligence. So he's one of the few that I've heard say that. So yeah, that could be a thing, but Seattle and Detroit, I have no idea why these names are out here. Like maybe if Seattle didn't pay Geno and they were stuck with Andrew Locke, I could
And
see that.
Jared Goff played well last year. He played
Yeah,
like a
Jared
top
Goff
3
was a
quarterback.
loss away from Seattle from making the playoffs. If they had gave up 42 points instead of 48, Detroit's in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Because they lost on the tiebreaker. But as far as teams that are very far away in the draft that could make a big move to get up there, Tampa would be the only one, that I see coming from, say, lower than 10. Unless like you mentioned Washington. But if you're Washington, I would just think you would go get Lamar Jackson, if that's the case, to give up the 2 first-round draft picks because you're giving up a 16 versus Indy giving up a 4.
Yeah,
So
you'll give up a 16 and a 20. Well,
yeah,
NFC East, I don't know if he guarantees a win.
he doesn't. But I mean, you're starting a guy that went in the 5th round, and his claim to fame is he caught Dallas sleepwalking. And you still got Ron Rivera as your coach, who
Yeah,
probably won't be the
somebody's gonna
coach after
make.
this next coming season.
I know every year we always do these pre-draft, mainly not necessarily pre-draft, but these first round. This is always a hot topic. It's a great conversation. It's a great hyperbolic conversation. But I
And
think,
oh by the way, Aaron Rodgers ain't in your state yet.
yeah, but that deal is gonna get made.
They better hurry
I just,
up.
I just, you're at some point, someone's spouse at home is gonna be like, "What are you doing? You're coming home stressed every single day. Just make the deal." Like I don't know what you're trying to gain out of this. He wants to go. You want him gone. The Jets want him. They want to
Yeah, let's
pay
just
him.
grab Corey Davis
Let's
while we're at it for Jordan Love,
let's
you know?
let's just get out of this situation, and you can stop coming home grumpy every day, so you can prepare for the draft. The Lakers are really proving my point right now.
Well, I was concerned about this. I think the Lakers win, but I was concerned about Minnesota coming out hot early, but can they sustain it? That was the question that I had coming into this
Well,
game
the
because,
Lakers gonna give him 8 feet on every 3-point attempt.
well, like Cat has come out looking like I said that he needs to look so far, but I just don't know if they're going to maintain it. Those legs going to
Yeah,
get tired, at some
yeah.
point. That's the thing, But yeah, so like I was saying, so Tampa is the team that I could see coming from far away. They got Baker Mayfield. It's just a 1-year deal. I don't think anybody truly believes that Baker Mayfield is the future of anything right now. Not saying that he's not, but as of this moment, I don't think anybody thinks he's the future of anything at this point. Washington, we mentioned, Sam Howell, 5th-round draft pick. I would think they would go after Lamar before they would go after one of these unproven guys. Because if you're going to go unproven, you might as well just see what you got in Howell for a year or whatever while you're sitting there. I mentioned Atlanta. You don't agree, but I mentioned Atlanta. You know, um,
I don't
they
agree
just
because
got.
because they've been making a lot of defensive moves, and I think and that's
Just
the thing
pound the
they haven't
ball.
really done. They haven't. Every year I always like knock their free agent signings because it didn't show a definitive like idea. Like, hey, this is what we're doing with this offseason.
Uh-huh.
And this one they signed Bates, they got Clayus Campbell, they just traded for Jeff Okuda.
I love that pickup. I love the Okuda pickup.
They re-signed some edge rushers because a lot of times they will let edge rushers go. Like they let Aluakon go last year in the offseason. They traded Deion Jones. So it's like, what are we doing? So I think now there's like, okay, we are going to be physical up front and we're going to get physical corners and we're going to get a ball hawking safety. So I think they're going to kind of rest on that and run with Desmond Ritter. They were like second or third in the league in rushing. So I don't think a move to jump up and get a rookie quarterback does you any good. I don't think it's an advancement on what you already have, considering
That
you're
makes sense.
schematically you're going to run a rookie style offense with the guy you already have
But
without
am,
losing
am
any
I?
draft capital.
But am I the only one that thinks that this whole Will Levis thing is just smoke up my ass? Like,
No, he's
like
going to get picked.
like that high
He's
though?
he's going to get picked that high. He's going to get picked. He looks the part. The shoulders, the arms, like 6'4", 6'5". He has the quarterback face. That's what Colin Carter talks about. I call it quarterback face. He's just like he just has like the look that you want your CEO of your organization to look like,
I think
and
Ryan
that
Leaf
is going to
had
be
that
enough.
too.
Ryan Leaf was a knucklehead,
And
but
what's
he acted like a knucklehead, and they had
what's his
evidence that
name?
he
And
was a
there was another
knucklehead.
dude I had in my mind
Sam
just
Darnold
now
has
that I just
quarterback face. Jimmy
yeah, that's what I was
Garoppolo has
thinking about.
quarterback
Yeah, I
face.
was
Yeah,
thinking about Sam Darnold. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying like that kind of Zach Wilson has quarterback face, baby quarterback face, but quarterback face. Mac Jones looks like your CEO. You see how long it took him to walk in his lawyer's suit to get to the podium when he got drafted. Some guys just kind of have that look that wows you. Anthony Richardson can walk in a room and break down the schematics of the post route and the cover 3 defense and go to the whiteboard, and then Will Levis can do it, and he looks like he also could be your golf buddy. And then you draft
But as
him.
far as you're concerned, when we get to draft day, Arizona will not be in possession of the third pick.
Tennessee will have the third pick, and they're going to take whoever is not drafted
Whoever
so
is
far
not Will
between
Levis,
Stroud.
but still there.
Yeah, they won't take Levis. Levis, they won't move up to get. I hope I can't. Well, but I thought the same thing about San Francisco when they jumped up to get Trey Lance,
Okay.
and everyone was saying it
So
was Mac Jones, and I was like, what?
so so if we say if we're sticking with Stroud, Young, Richardson, that's what we're sticking with.
Yes, that's the 1, 2, 3.
Who drafts Levis then? If he because we're saying that he's going to go high, who's going to draft him then?
Tampa Bay.
So they're going to move up. So they're going to jump.
Someone's like, if the you know how it goes when you have a run on a certain position, people start jockeying for position. If quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, someone who's sitting there with the quarterback that is a bridge quarterback because either they are underwhelmed with his performance, a la Minnesota. I know I heard rumors that Herndon from Tennessee could potentially go 24th to Minnesota because they think he can fall that
Oh
far.
yeah, Hendon Hooker, yeah.
Hendon Hooker, yeah, sorry. So he falls to 23. Then you have a team like Tampa Bay at 19.
See, that's interesting because he's probably not even going to be ready to start the season.
And that's why you have Kirk Cousins, who's riding out the end of his extension, and you see if he can get you over the hump, and if he can't, he's your bridge guy. He's in the quarterback room with him. He's learning from Kirk.
He just happens to be the same age as Lamar Jackson.
Hey, you know what I mean? Things happen. So Tampa Bay, Washington, if they really love this Howell kid, I think they're not going to go with Levis. But yeah, so Minnesota or Tampa Bay moving up to get Levis, or he does the Aaron Rodgers thing where he just falls to the 20s and someone just grabs him.
I can see
But
that.
If whoever goes up to 3 is getting a quarterback.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think anybody needs to move up to 3 to get, say, Will Anderson or Jalen Carter or my guy out of Texas Tech. Name is escaping me right now. Tyree Wilson. I don't think anybody's jumping up to grab any of them at number 3. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen crazier things happen, but you never know. But I think those guys will be available for Detroit and Seattle at 5 and 6, for example.
Yeah, so I think the wide receiver run is good to go. I think if you want
I don't think we see
quarterback,
receivers until deep into the first round.
I got it. Hopefully, I don't know if Atlanta grabs a corner since they just traded a 5th-round pick for Okuda.
Well, that's what
Maybe
I was
they do,
thinking
and
is
they
they
put
go
Okuda in
grab
the
Christian
slot,
Gonzalez, maybe.
or maybe they go and bolster the defensive line and get Carter and just move Calais Campbell and
I mean, I would love for
Grady
Washington
Jarrett
to
to the
get Joey
outside.
Porter Jr., or the guy out of Illinois, but I don't think he's going to be there by the time Washington comes up. But yeah, like Will Anderson. So in that case, I guess Will Anderson would probably be my mock draft first defensive player coming off the board. Then
At 5 to
at
Seattle.
5, yeah, at 5 with Seattle, and then 6 gets interesting because I would think Detroit would grab one of Carter or Wilson that I just mentioned. You just never know.
I'd go if I'm Detroit, I'm going interior defensive line. I'm taking Carter. I think 2 things. Like I said, I'm weary of Carter because, yes, I mean you should be allowed to make your mistakes when you're young. It's just that I wouldn't want him to be that close to home. I don't know where he's from, but the trouble that he got in, going back to the campus and hanging out at the campus parties and stuff like that because he's so close. If I'm Detroit, I'm like, I'm not worried about that because I'm like, I got you way up in here in Michigan. I can get you
He's from
acclimated to
Florida.
our culture. He's from Florida. You get drafted down south. You're hanging out down there. People coming up. Like, I don't know how many people going from Florida to Michigan on a whim. You can get from any part of Georgia, Florida. I mean, you border each other. So I think people will come. I think he can potentially get himself into, just put himself in situations where he's there too late. It's 1 a.m. It's time to go, and he doesn't leave. He's at a certain kind of event. Or we hanging out. We driving our cars through the city, hanging out, and now you just into something that you don't need to be in. Maybe he
Okay, so
finds that in Detroit, but it's unlikely that you just find that kind of that kind of chaos. And they had Aiden Hutchinson on the outside. You get Carter in the middle. I mean, I think that's huge. But
yeah, so
I don't know
the
why
latest
anybody
mock
would want to
draft.
move up to 3. Yeah.
Yeah, the latest mock draft that I saw on NFL.com by Rhett Lewis. He had Tennessee grabbing Levis, but he didn't have them trading up to get him just yet. He didn't have a trade yet. He mentioned that Arizona would be the most obvious trade, like the most obvious spot where a trade would happen. But he had Tennessee getting Levis and Richardson going to the Colts. So,
So
but I would
the Colts are probably sitting in the best spot right now because
right. They got the bird eye view.
just like what they say, the catbird seat,
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was trying to
whatever
go
that
for. Yeah, I was
whatever that
trying to.
means.
Yeah, I was trying to
Okay.
go for that.
Little Skip Bayless. I'm like, what is this catbird seat? But like I said, the draft normally isn't interesting, and it probably won't be. Uh,
And in this
but
mock draft, they got the Falcons going Miles Murphy from Clemson, edge rusher.
at 8,
Yeah, and then they got Washington going Joey Porter Jr. Like I said, so I can live with that.
the Lakers are gonna lose.
You see this, y'all? Even during the NFL draft, this man is focused on the Lakers.
Listen, the iPad's right
It's
here.
a
You know what I'm saying?
poison. It's poison.
Listen, they're the only game on right now. I think they're gonna lose. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna win a series.
Hey, LeBron just hit a 3 on my screen, so calm down.
Yeah, we'll see.
But of course, when it comes to the NFL draft, you know me, I'm interested to see where B. John Robinson's going to go. Because I want to see like what we doing with these running backs. Like are we going to see a bunch of teams trade back because the running backs are going to be available?
Houston.
And
Now
looking
he
at
got a
this
running
mock
back
draft.
last year.
Yeah, looking at this mock draft, he is the only running back that Rhett Lewis is projecting to go in the first round.
But that's pretty standard. I think that's been the over under. If you're making a bet on FanDuel of how many running backs go in the first round, I think 1.5 might have been the. I don't even think 1.5 is, but I think the bet is 1 because
That's
it
crazy.
doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe these XFL running backs got a better chance than the college running backs.
The thing with the college running backs is like a lot of them are former spread wide receivers that play running back, so they don't have like the bruiser back that the NFL feels they need. They don't have the Ezekiel Elliott, the big body,
Right.
Adrian Peterson, who was basically made in a lab
Well,
to
they're
play
kind of
running
being
back.
phased out, like the 6'1" point guard in the NBA. They're kind of being phased out at this point.
Oh, Schroeder limped off.
Yeah, so yeah, that's where we are though. So the NFL draft is coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm excited. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna watch probably every round, every pick. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna have my phone with me, getting yelled at because I won't stop looking at it.
I'll have the live ticker on somewhere. Have something plugged in.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. But now it's time for the world renowned Get It Off My Chest. So I'm going to take this one because I don't know what you got today. We didn't talk about it, but, mine is a pretty simple get it off my chest, so I was just going to go first. So, I've learned that I be having a lot to get off my chest, like when I woke up this morning, I was going to talk about what a disgusting person Mark Cuban is. But then, but that would have probably been, too biased, because I was hoping for Dallas to make the playoffs. So I didn't want to beat that dead horse. But Mark
you heard
Cuban,
it here first.
Yeah, but Mark Cuban, you are a very disgusting man, so just throw that out there. So then I thought about talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves and trying out for the heavyweight boxing division. But, that's been beat to death all over social media and all over the radio shows. So, try to hang when everybody else zags. And then I thought about it. And I said, what is my favorite sport of all? And of course, my favorite sport of all is college football. And it's been way too long since we had a college football topic for my liking. But, that's what happens when you're out of season, I guess. You can't have watermelons until the watermelons are in season. So,
correct.
All right. So, Pac-12. I'm back on that again. Pac-12. Where's this TV deal? Your TV deal runs out next year. And Raph, I'm 2'5". So I like being different. I like trying to be innovative. I like going against the grain. But not at the point of not being logical. Like, you at least got to be able to back up what you're saying. Like, even if people don't agree with you as 2'5", you got to be able to express yourself in a way that people are like, okay, well, he ain't stupid. So imagine my surprise when I saw that the latest rumor is that the Pac-12 is talking TV deal with the CW. I'm all about being different. I'm all about innovation. Y'all off your damn rocker, okay? First of all, like, just sign this deal with Apple. If you got to go streaming for an extra few bucks, sign a little side deal with, CBS or somebody. So you got your like early games on CBS, your 7 o'clock window on CBS, and then maybe you got your late games on Apple, Pac-12 After Dark and all that kind of stuff like that. But hold up. The CW? Like, did you even call NBC to see if they want any football besides Notre Dame football?
Did you call Tyler Perry?
So second of all, why have I not heard that San Diego State has been invited yet? Now, granted, I know SMU was in some talks as well, and even I brought up SMU should have been in talks. But I mean, you just had San Diego State make it to the national title game in basketball. And I know football drives the bus, but why haven't I heard San Diego State is on the way yet? So, Mr. Clivecoff, you've been in office for 2 years now. So I'm not trying to hear that Larry Scott left you a disaster when he left as commissioner. You've had 2 years to get this right. Anybody with vision and foresight would have been working on this deal back then to at least have parameters in place of this is where we want to go, this is where we want to be, this is what's feasible, this is what's not, and the CW ain't on the list. But San Diego State is, because you want to get in Southern California. So I was looking at this, trying to figure out what are the brands in the Pac-12 now once UCLA and Trojangelis get out of there. So you got Washington and Oregon, as your top 2 brands. Is Stanford number 3? Is Stanford the next best brand in the Big 12 until Coach Prime gets Colorado bumping again? But, like, is it Stanford, the academic snob? Procrastination is what got you here in the first place. So just announce San Diego State, is coming to the conference. Even if you don't announce SMU or anybody else, let's just get San Diego State secured, Don't forget about UTSA. Don't forget about the Roadrunners down here with our
Yeah.
1.4 billion population. So then there's the Pac-12 network. Everybody wants a network. We started with the Longhorn network. We got an ACC network, Big Ten network. Raf. I was looking at this. The Pac-12 network has only generated $2.5 million per school.
They
You
put
got
them
the
on at
whole
11 o'clock at
West
night.
Coast. I know, but you got the whole West Coast. You got a whole coast to yourself. So somebody need to learn how to market, I guess. So Pac-12, please don't sign a deal with the CW.
I mean, how much money can you get from the CW? Maybe that's why they
I
have
didn't
them
even know the
now.
CW still existed. Like,
I didn't know
what
they
you
play
go
All American. I know
what
that's
you
the
go
TV show that's on it.
oh, I watch it on Netflix. But what you going to do? You going to have One Tree Hill be the lead in for Arizona and Colorado? You know what I'm saying?
Or
You're going
you
to have
just you go
you got
CW
Oregon and
Sports and
Washington
you
and
just play Pac-12 games, the gymnastics, the swim competitions, the
like what you
basketball,
got?
badminton,
You got
chess.
Oregon and Washington in the afternoon slot, and you're like, stay tuned for Smallville.
Yo, now you just play everything. Gymnastics, men's gymnastics, women's gymnastics, swimming, badminton,
I don't get it,
all of
bro.
that.
It's all yours. I don't get it.
All right, my get off my chest is a little bit more of an idea. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up. So I want to give these guys credit because I heard it early and I thought it was pretty cool. All right, so there's this podcast called The Give and Go. It's a soccer podcast, and they were talking about this insane rumor, idea, plan that they had to get Messi, Lionel Messi, to come to the MLS. So the plan is every single team would help pay his massive salary that he would be able to command because of his level of popularity. And I'm not against it. I think it's a great idea. I saw another clip earlier and it seems like the soccer thing just kind of came back to back. And they said the reason that Europe is so much better at soccer than the United States is that a soccer camp in Europe will look at you and say, I think you can be good at soccer and invite you to the camp. Whereas in the United States, it's like $8,400 per year for for that level of training. And that depends on, where you live, but that's average. So, you live up here in Jersey, Massachusetts area, it could be up to $10,000, $12,000 a year. So I think getting that kind of money together to get Messi here, even if it's only for 2 years, you'll sell out every stadium. So even if you have to shell out the money, you're gonna get it back because it's gonna sell out. I give you a prime example. Real Madrid came to Salt Lake in 2006 and played Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake didn't even have their own stadium at this point. They were playing at the University of Utah football stadium. And it's the capacity is like 45,400 people. Well, there was 45,400 people to watch David Beckham play. He only played the second half, and he had one bended like Beckham free kick. I think Cristiano Ronaldo was on that team. Ozil, a couple of guys that played for the German national team, running team. So it's a lot of heavy hitters on the European team, and it was a friendly 45,000 people. So now you promote every game. They said they were going to promote every game. Every road game is Messi is coming. So I'm with it. I think if you can find a way to get that, I'm going to soccer games just to see Messi because I never even had an opportunity to see him. I did get to see David Beckham, and when you think about it, you don't know like that's not a big deal. But the MLS started to take off, so it's like, well, you're kind of stagnant. Do the next thing to make the next move and see what you can do because it's on TV. You're on TV if you have Messi. If you can get two, granted, you probably can't get Cristiano Ronaldo because I think his Saudi Arabian deal is going to pay him something like $250 million for the next couple of years, like 80 from the team, and then off the side he's going to get up to 170 million. So that's that crazy oil money you can't get. But if you can get a couple of like players to come and play in MLS for 1 year, I think you should go for it. So my get off my chest is, hey man, go for it. Spend the money. We only going to be on this. We're only going to be on this rock floating around in the galaxy for so long. So let's get some entertainment worldwide. So MLS, bring Messi to the United States. I'm buying tickets.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do to build your brand. Like they just signed their Apple deal. So they're on Apple now. I watched a few Real Salt Lake games because if you believe, stand up on your feet and shout it loud, Real. So I've been on it a little bit. But yeah, like if soccer is going to make that mark in the United States, these are the opportunities that you have to try to take advantage of to make that happen. Because even if people in the United States don't necessarily, soccer ain't their thing, Messi's a big enough name, to get some casuals that you don't have already.
Yeah, just because your top training for soccer in the United States isn't available to everybody. It's only
Right.
available to people who can shell out an additional $8,000 to $10,000 a year on top of, and that's just for the playing. You got to factor in, you got to get there, you got to be there multiple times a week. You got to get a personal trainer, nutritionist, all this other stuff that probably comes along with it that you would just get from being in this camp. So, I
So I
mean,
guess I
give it a
guess
try.
I guess Apple is good enough for MLS, but not the Pac-12.
Listen to CW. Next, they're gonna be
CW,
in
man.
on the Tyler Perry network.
Let me find out. Just to watch Oregon, I'm gonna have to turn on the Oxygen channel.
You have to watch One Tree Hill first.
Said, yeah, I guess that counts as basketball, right? That's still sports, I guess. Never seen an episode of One Tree Hill in my life.
I, I just know Chad Michael Murray and Sophia Bush are in it. That's all I
I
know.
don't even think I've ever watched Smallville. Like, I don't know what I've ever watched on the CW.
All I know is All Americans on the CW, but I've only seen it when my son's watching it on Netflix. But I know
Yeah, I
it
watch it
airs
on
on the
Netflix.
CW.
They might have had
So
Saints and Sinners
so
for all
maybe
I
the
know.
maybe the football buzz from All American is like, well, we should get the Pac-12. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I can't
I,
knock the CW for it, you know what I mean? But I'm definitely going to knock the Pac-12 for it.
yeah, that doesn't seem like a great deal. I
Yeah,
don't
that's going
because
to.
I can't imagine that deal you'd get from them would be like whatever you would complain about a deal you would get from NBC. I don't know if the CW can make up for what you don't like about the NBC deal monetarily. I mean,
Right.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'll see. Lakers making it a game now.
Yeah, see. Hopefully they win. Like I said,
Well,
I like the
I will
team.
say,
I just don't think I think they're poorly constructed. And I've thought
I
that
will,
for 2 years.
I will say, obviously, like I always say, I hate the Laker talk. It's all poison. But I will say that
I'm
if we
listening.
have the possibility of Lakers Warriors in the second round, I think I can live with that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a goaltend. Are they gonna review it? Up, 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 up. Nope. That's not goaltend. They didn't
But
review it.
yeah, I think I can live with that. I think I can live with Warriors and Lakers second round. But
That's because
like if
you're hopeful. You're normally more
no,
optimistic.
I'm
I
not
mean, more
hopeful. Like I
realistic.
want the Lakers to lose tonight, but I'm just saying like the story aspect of it would be entertaining because since LeBron has been in LA, I think we saw like one play-in game between them and the Warriors. And
Yeah.
the Warriors being his nemesis that have prevented him from winning titles, and then he came back and made history against them. It'd be nice, like one final chapter. Get that rivalry because I don't know how many times more we're gonna get it. So this might be the last shot that we see the Warriors against LeBron in the playoffs. So if that's the case, I can live with that. But if it were up to me, Lakers lose tonight, and then they would, lose, in 2 nights as well. So, but that's just me. It has nothing. But before we go any further and before we get out of here, I want all you LeBron James fans to know. I want all y'all to know it has nothing to do with LeBron. I promise. Like, I hated the Lakers since 1988, back when they called that phantom foul. They called that phantom foul on Bill Laimbeer to get the Lakers to Game 7, in that series. The Lakers were the first team that I ever saw the referees cheat for in my life that I remember. So that's why I hate the Lakers. And then as much as I love Kobe, I remember him elbowing Mike Bibby and busting his nose, and they called the foul on Mike Bibby, So like,
hey, it's a blocking foul. Can't be
so
there.
Stuff like that. And then right when I said the Lakers were back in the game, I went on my tangent, and now they're back down 8 with a 3 coming. So they're down 11 now again, all over again. Down 11 with 22 seconds left in the half. Mike Conley, Minnesota on a 14-2 run the last 2:30.
Yep. The Lakers were up. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, for a second. No, they'll be fine. I think they still pull this game out,
No, they can lose.
And if they don't, it just is what it is. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Sports Reports as Ordered. Mike Wilson, Raph Rutley, like us, review us, subscribe. It's free. Yes. Thanks for your support, America. We love you.
We out.
Peace.